Hi everyone. Today I have another fictional story for you that involves yarn. The title of this book is Extra Yarn. The words are by Barnett and it's illustrated by John Klassen. Extra Yarn. On a cold afternoon in a cold little town, where everywhere you looked was either the white of snow or the black of soot from chimneys, Annabelle found a box filled with yarn of every color. So take time to look at where she lives. What are the two colors that you see? The white of snow and the black of soot from chimneys. That's what comes out when someone has a fire to warm up their house. The smoke goes up the chimney and then out. So she went home and knit herself a sweater. And when Annabelle was done, she had some extra yarn. So she knit a sweater for Mars too, but there was still extra yarn. And when Annabelle and Mars went for a walk, Nate pointed and laughed and said, "You two look ridiculous." "You're just jealous," said Annabelle. "No, I'm not," said Nate. Do you remember what jealous means? It means he wants what she has. When you're jealous, you kind of wish you had something that someone else has. So what do you think? Do you think he is jealous? Let's see. It turned out he was jealous. And even after she'd made a sweater for Nate and his dog and for herself and for Mars, she still had extra yarn. At school, Annabelle's classmates could not stop talking about her sweater. "Quiet," shouted Mr. Norman. "Quiet, everyone. Annabelle, that sweater of yours is a terrible distraction. I cannot teach with everyone turning around to look at you." "Then I'll knit one for everyone," Annabelle said, "so they won't have to turn around." "Impossible," said Mr. Norman. "You can't." But it turned out she could, and she did, even for Mr. Norman. And when she was done, Annabelle still had extra yarn. So she knit sweaters for her mom and dad, and for Mr. Pendleton and Mrs. Pendleton, and for Dr. Palmer, and for little Louis. She made sweaters for everyone except Mr. Crabtree, who never wore sweaters or even long pants, and who would stand in his shorts with the snow up to his knees. "No sweater for me, thanks," said Mr. Crabtree. So she made Mr. Crabtree a hat, and even then Annabelle still had extra yarn. So she made sweaters for all the dogs and all the cats and for other animals too. Soon, people thought, soon Annabelle will run out of yarn. But it turned out she didn't. So Annabelle made sweaters for things that didn't even wear sweaters. What do you notice in the illustrations that are things that don't even wear sweaters? I can see a sweater on a mailbox and a birdhouse in someone's house. Things began to change in that little town. So take a minute and look at this picture. Do you remember what the town looked like at the beginning of the story before she started using that yarn? Let's take a quick look. At the beginning, remember, we didn't see any colors. We saw some white and black. But now, after she's used her yarn, what do you notice about her town? It looks a lot more colorful to me, and that makes it feel a little bit warmer and happier, I think. News spread of this remarkable girl who never ran out of yarn, and people came to visit from around the world to see all the sweaters and to shake Annabelle's hand. One day, an archduke is like he's royalty, like a king or a prince, kind of. So one day, an archduke who was very fond of clothes sailed across the sea and demanded to see Annabelle. "Little girl," said the archduke, "I would like to buy that miraculous box of yarn. I'm willing to offer you $1,000,000. "No, thank you," said Annabelle, who was knitting a sweater for a pickup truck. The archduke's mustache twitched. How do you think he's feeling if his mustache is twitching? I think he might be kind of angry that she said no. So his mustache twitched. 2 million, he said. Annabelle shook her head. No thanks. 10 million, shouted the Archduke. Take it or leave it. Leave it, said Annabelle. I won't sell the yarn. And she didn't. So that night, the Archduke hired 3 robbers to break into Annabelle's house, and they stole the box and took it to the Archduke, who set off across the snow and sailed over the sea back to his castle. The Archduke put on his favorite song and sat in his best chair. Then he took out the box and he lifted its lid and he looked inside. What do you think he'll see when he opens the lid? Any guesses? Do you want to make a prediction? Let's see. What do you notice? The box is empty. His mustache quivered. It shivered. It trembled. The Archduke hurled the box out the window and shouted, Little girl, I curse you with my family's curse. You will never be happy again. But look at the box. It landed on some ice. It looks to me like the ice is floating in the sea with the box on it. But it turned out she was happy again. The end. I hope you enjoyed that story. I love the magic that's involved and all the different characters and what a strong character Annabelle is, thinking about other people and how to make her town a more fun and happy, warm place. And I think it's neat to see how that magic yarn works and who it works for. Did you notice? It seems like when it's with Annabelle, there's plenty of yarn to keep knitting new things, but when it's with the Archduke, who is not a very nice person, it doesn't want to be used. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day and a great weekend. I can't wait to see you all soon. Take care.